I'm America's only Grandmaster Handicapper, Joe Duffy, CEO of OffshoreInsiders.com. Let's explode some bold myths. To say the least, every single sport, there's a massive gap between the sharps and the squares. Arguably, the bowls, though, top that list, or at least very high on the list. But of course, if it wasn't every single sport, there wouldn't be sports books out there, and very few bookies go broke. And no, not even people who book plays of my clients and me, they're not going to go broke, because there's always enough gamblers out there who are square players and that believe these myths. So let's just fact check quite a few of these. Most of the myths that I've heard over the years and read here on the internet, when you'll read bowl betting articles, they will tell you, without backing it up with any facts or any statistics, to go with the hotter team. They like betting on a team that goes into the bowls much hotter and betting against teams that go into the bowls ice cold. I can't really figure out why, but it seems that so many people out there prefer to weigh recent games even more heavily when it comes to bowls, and logic would tell you it would be quite the opposite. A long rest gives teams a chance to make adjustments, and it all but eliminates momentum and slumps. So recent play is less, yes, much less important when it comes to the bowls. For example, fading teams off consecutive games in which they allowed 12 points combined is 11-1 since 2001. So yeah, Joey Bag of Donuts, Oscar Dooley's of the world, they're going to see a team played their best defense at the end of the year, and they're going to think they're going to be a team to bet on in the bowls. But in fact, we have a statistic that says teams that are off of 2 dominant games defensively entering the postseason are a great fade. Teams with worse against the spread margins are 81, 39-2 against teams with at least a 3-game spread winning streak, as long as they are not on that same winning streak. So again, a team that's not also on a 3-game spread winning streak and has a much worse ATS margin, a fantastic play against teams that enter the postseason red hot, especially against the spread. Now let's expose some other myths that there are. Teams that don't have a winning record are 86-71 versus opponents with a winning record. I kind of took a little bit of a deserved pot shot at a journeyman handicapper. He's retired. He's out of the business. But I remember he would always say to me, or to anybody who would listen, which unfortunately you couldn't avoid listening to him, that, oh, I like to bet against teams that don't deserve to be in bowl games. Well, instead, it's quite the opposite. Teams that do not have a winning record, so that could be a 500 team, are pretty good bets in the postseason, because motivation is always a factor, and a 500 team that made the bowls, they're going to be pretty happy just to be in a bowl game, and they're a solid bet. Obviously, 86-71 isn't something you want to run to the bank with, but it definitely refutes that myth. That being said, it is 1-8 the last 9. So the guy who says to me he likes to bet against teams that don't deserve to be in bowls, well, as far as recency is concerned, he's actually been right. But be careful of that myth. Bowl favorites off of a conference championship game in which they were favorites are 30-17. Teams that scored at least 125 points their last 3 games go under at a 78-60-1 rate. Now again, is 78-60-1, is that something you're going to, as I said, run to the bank with? No, but the point here is it is contrary to what the squares believe. The squares are going to say, oh my goodness, the team exploded offensively at the end of the year. They're improving offensively. Let's bet the over. Well, false. You, in fact, want to bet the under. I should also add, at Joe Duffy's Picks at OffshoreInsiders.com, these are master angles we have. When we add a couple other parameters, they get much better. So truthfully, my best super systems, you'll get them at OffshoreInsiders.com. We actually have a really nice sub-angle of several of these, including very much that one. Teams that enter, having allowed 35 points or less combined the last 3 games, go over at a staggering rate of 31-12. Teams with bad margins of cover, aka sweat barometers, that is, their negative margin of cover, are pretty good teams to go on at 169, 113, and 6. And again, margin of cover or so-called sweat barometers, it's similar to victory margin, except it is how they did against the spread. So in other words, if a team is a 10-point favorite and they only won by 7, they would have a negative 3-point spread margin. Again, you want to bet all these games through the vetted sportsbooks at offshoreinsiders.com, home of the Master Lock Line, Joe Duffy's Picks, Stevie Vincent, and of course, late info. Offshoreinsiders.com is the place to go for winning sports service picks